Welcome back. You're now watching the lifestyle segment of the weekend show. Today our discussion is religion and its role in national development and human development as well. As we all know, religion has played an enormous role in history of humanity. It has laid foundation for formal education and cultural foundations for a lot of countries in the world today. It has influenced various developmental activities in different faiths as religious adherents and institutions are agents of advocacy, funding, innovation, empowerment, and social movements. Over 80% of the world's population consider themselves religious. Joining me to have this conversation today, we have Dr. Musa Olaofe. He's an imam and missioner of Asorunde Society of Nigeria, Abuja branch. Thank you so much for joining us in today's program. We also have Reverend Father Peter Benson Okwori, who is CSSP. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us in today's program.
It's a pleasure.
What role has religion played in the Nigerian populace in terms of human development? If we look back to the civil rights advocacy in the United States of America, it was led by the church. Most of these advocacy and anti-human rights abuses have been led by religious bodies all over the world. So in Nigeria particularly, what role is religion playing? I'll start with you, Reverend Father.
Thank you very much. And good morning, viewers. Religion actually has played a great deal of role in the Nigerian society. It may not have taken the form of being in the forefront of advocating or rather fighting in a sense for human rights, as you just cited, as happened in the US. But in Nigeria, religion has actually gone a long way in promoting human rights and fighting against injustice in the society. Religion has contributed to a large extent to human development in area of education, in area of medical services, in areas like in the Catholic Church, we have an aspect of the church that takes care of the society, and in that area we have the Catholic social teachings, which make reference to everything that has to do about the human dignity. And so the church takes the human person holistically, and then the society holistically when it talks about development and its approach to development in the society. And often also the church plays the role of being the voice of the voiceless in the society, especially in times of injustice, oppression, in times of talking about and speaking of for the rights of those at the margin of the society, the physically challenged, the poor ones, those who are not opportune to be around the corridors of power and all of that. So the church has always been in the forefront because religion for us Christians and Catholics particularly gives advantage to the less privileged, the voiceless, the hoi polloi, the nobodies of the society.
And I would like to delve into what advantage that is. Imam, let me bring you in here. In recent memory, do you recall any massive movement that has been led by any religious bodies, whether it be Muslim, Christian, traditionalist, or whatever it is?
Well, if you take back to, I think, 2015, when the issue of oil subsidy came on board, the religious leader came out to express their feelings, to advise people on what to do, to inform them the importance of religions in the society, and to let them know that with religion, the easiest way to communicate to the government, because government respects religious leaders, most especially on Fridays and some other days whereby they have congregation. They will discuss at length and let the people understand that the role religions needs to play to develop humanity, it is not small. It has a very large crowd large people that they can discuss. Their voices goes to the government immediately. And you can see that with that, they can be able to express their feelings, inform people about what God says in the Holy Quran, what the sayings of the prophets, and how we can be able to tackle things religiously. Because when you remove religion, it's like removing a soul from the body. Because it's through that religion that you can be able to ascertain some issues that are affecting us directly or indirectly. And religious is just a machinery whereby people understand the feelings of others. When you go to church, you go to the mosque, Fridays, Sundays, the pastors will talk. And when pastors or imams are talking on current issues, in fact, some people may not even understand until when they see them talking, they will now realize that, oh, these people are very current. And with that, don't forget that in any church or mosque, there are people from government that listen, and then they will go back. That these people cannot reach you, but this is what we have today. How can we make an adjustment? How can we, how can we correct these manners that we see that is already in place? And government who have the listening here will listen to them, and they will follow that what they are saying is that the masses are saying the same thing, because they are representing the masses, even if they cannot come to the government. And that's why we always say that either being a pastor or imam, find time to discuss with government, talk to them, don't abuse them, don't criticize them. All you need to do, whatever you see that is not going fine, then you correct them. Then from there, they will learn from you. But
Imam, you've raised a very salient point. You said most of the religious leaders are very current. So even when you're preaching in your mosque, when you're preaching in church, you're talking about topical issues that resonate in the minds of the people who attend your religious institutions. Across the world, over 40% of basic infrastructure, healthcare centers, schools are built by religious institutions. But unfortunately, I don't necessarily see a replication here in Nigeria, especially public institutions. Do you believe that there is more religious bodies can do? I asked you earlier, what movements has religious bodies started? Right, so I talked about the civil rights group, in the United States, civil rights movement in the United States, started by the church. What movement has the religious bodies in Nigeria started and sustained, and do you believe that there's more you can do in the fight for human rights, in the fight for better governance, in the fight for accountability amongst Nigerians?
yes, of course. You see, if you see what is going on in Nigeria today, religious bodies, they have a very vital role to play, and they have been playing it. Let me give you an example. The society in which I belong to as Imam was founded in 1923. That is the Ansaruddin in Lagos. When Ansaruddin was founded, with just 43 members on board, they sat down that how can we improve? It is not just sitting down and pray alone that matters. How our children can be well educated, how our children can be fit in the society, how can we build hospitals, how can we promote health institution, how can we do a lot of things, most especially on education. All the teacher trainings we have in the Southwest then were built by the Ansaruddin College in Nota, Ansaruddin College in Ondo, and then Ansaruddin College in Isolo. Are you getting it now? To promote education. Those who are not ready to learn, they brought all of them out. They showed them the importance of education. They employed people that can teach them. And then on scholarships too, many people are sent abroad to go and learn more and come back to Nigeria to come and educate the children. Then we have hospitals everywhere. Even when the issue of HIV and AIDS advocacy came on board, the Ansaruddin joined the nation to promote, to educate, and to let people know that religion can play a very vital role to change a lot of things and to move to the next level. So with this now, you can realize that whatever going on in the world, the religious people, they are very, very current in such a way that in terms of promoting the humanity, You know, many people abandon education. They don't count education to be so much important. And they were building schools, they were building hospitals, they were building other, shops. They can even rent it out to create jobs for people who cannot be employed by the government. And more than that, they empower a lot of people. And that's why you see that every blessed month, every blessed year, they will have the zakat. It's an institution that's on its own to take care of the less privileges, how to empower them to do some things when they were working and they are very comfortable. The issue of begging will reduce. The society has been doing that for a very long time, and they'll keep on doing it. And there's another body called NIREC, whereby Nigerian religious body, both Muslims and the Christians, they were in that committee. Then, if there are things that they know that they can correct in the society, they will converge and have meetings about that, so that they can be able to resolve this matter and send a communique to the government. So by mere of doing that, they are really advocating, they are really promoting, they are really concerned. For example, when the elections were coming, the religious leaders were invited. What do you think that government can do? Then they advised government that there are a lot of things you can do in terms of the welfare of the masses is very, very essential. Then education is very essential. Then our children, how do we get them job? Very essential. They listed all this to the
Imam,
government.
sorry to interject, you've spoken very well. But I wonder, with the growing stage of insecurity in the nation, I would have expected that all religious bodies, Christians, Muslims, traditionalists, whatever it is you practice, I mean, 84% of the world's population is religious. So you can imagine, I'm sure it's near, 100% in Nigeria. We all believe in something. I would have expected religious bodies, you all come together and lead a protest, ensuring that the government ramps up its actions against insecurity. I believe there's more religious bodies can do. Rather than be reactive, these bodies should be more proactive. So Reverend Father, let me bring you in here. There has been a symbiotic relationship between politics and religion in this country since time immemorial. How do you believe this influences society? Is it for the better or is it for the worse?
Well, obviously for the better. Firstly, maybe I take it up from our address part of the question addressed to Dr. Musa. There are a number of movements, religious movements, Christian movements, that are out to check the excesses of government and the lapses in the society of today, and issues around the insecurity, unemployment, injustice, and all of that. In Christianity, we have CAN, Christian Association of Nigeria. In the Cali Church, we have the Cali Bishops Conference of Nigeria. They have had a series of communiques issued. A number of times they have gone to the presidential villa to have discussions with the president, the presidency, and all of that, with a view to highlighting the areas the government is doing very well. Both present and past governments, it's not just something that has to do with the present administration alone, but it has been that way all over the years. And where the government isn't doing well, they highlight them also. Now, there are other forms of movements. We have like the National Association of the Catholic Lawyers, who fight for the justice in the society, not just for Christians, but for everybody. And it's so many other movements like that. Recently, just almost a year now, some priests were killed by armed men, and then all over the nation there was a peaceful protest. Now, religion, especially Christianity, does not promote violent protest. And because most of our protests are not violent, it may look not to be quite serious, but it is. And violent protest will not bring about any change that will last long. And the effects of peaceful protests advocacies and all of that may not be so immediate, but once it comes about, it will last long because it is going to affect, the deepest part of the human person. And once the human person is changed from within, then the society is changed for good. So, and then the relation, there is, of course, a very, very close relationship between, religion and the society. All aspects of the society is influenced by religion. Firstly, religion operates. The society gives religion the platform to operate. So religion operates in the society. It doesn't operate in a void. So religion provides, society provides religion with the atmosphere, with the environment to carry out its activities. And for us Christians, religion is the conscience of the society. So now, like a doctor said, the religion is not turned away from what is happening in the human society. Religion is existential in its approach. It addresses the life situation of man, of the society. So it is always, at a very close relationship with the human society. So it addresses every sphere of the human society, the political, the social, the economic, and all of that, the ethical, every aspect of it. Religion addresses it, but in its relationship with the society, unlike the society that has apparatus that involve arms, force, and all of that, religion does not have that, especially the Christian religion. Religion addresses the conscience of the human person with a view to changing it for good, to refine your reasoning, and then change your worldview about existence altogether.
That's a very fundamental point you've raised. Influencing the worldview of your followers, of the people who practice your religion. You wield so much power in shaping the perspective, the holistic perspective of each individual you speak to. That is why I find it disturbing sometimes when religious leaders practice hate speech, when they speak violence, when they tell their followers, if anyone says this to you, you retaliate in violence. So I'm very happy that the Catholic Church, and I'm sure your organization as well, practices nonviolence, preaches nonviolence. However, I've grown up as a religious person. I believe I am who I am today because of the values that my parents have imbibed in me since I was very young. I'm a practicing Christian, I'm a Baptist. I believe the way I see the world today, 90% has to do with my religion, has to do with my belief in God. Therefore, the messages you preach in your institutions matters. It matters, with the way the country turns out. It matters with the way the individual turns out. So, is there more you can do in your messaging? Because I've attended various churches since I moved back to the country in 2014, and I realized that most people are preaching prosperity. That's it. There's nothing about shaping your values. There's nothing about holding you accountable. Again, like the messaging has changed from time. So is there a way you can refine your messages in a goal to reshape the minds of Nigerians, showing them that it is your duty to act in a responsible way. It is your duty to be kind to your neighbor, irrespective of their religion, irrespective of their social status, irrespective of their tribe and ethnicity. Is it possible to set a specific goal to do that, Imam?
Well, if you go to the two books, all the books, all what you have said is already written there. Because if you see anybody misbehaving, it is your duty as imam or a pastor to move closer to that person, admonish that person, talk to them the values of life, the values of what they don't understand. And when you do that, you are promoting the religion and you are removing indecency in the life of that person. And by doing that, you make him to feel how to behave well in the society. A lot of things are happening that is not because of anything, like what you just said now. You are born as a Baptist, then you grew up being a religious person, and you can see that that one is already in you. Even when you want to do otherwise, then that religion, the fear of God in you, will draw you back. Don't let me do this. Now, it is our duty to keep on saying this. Keep on talking. Hate speech cannot solve any problem. Because if you go to the mosques and say, if you don't do this, hellfire. If you don't do this one, hellfire. When you keep on mentioning hellfire, somebody will tell you that, have you ever been to that hellfire and come back? Why can't you be talking of, if you do good, then paradise is there for you to enter? So these are the words that people believe that when you keep on doing it, you are promoting morality. You are promoting what is called decency, not indecency. So with all this, you will see that many people will change for better. As a lecturer, let me tell you, there was a day a student entered my class, dresses the ways I don't like. I warned her for the first time. The second time I warned her. This is a religion. If you are studying Islamic studies in the university, then you are entitled to dress normally so that let people see the culture of that religion in you as the course you are studying. So what is the next thing for me to do? Well, I gave her what is expected of her to have. And then she doesn't believe herself. She says, sir, see what is happening. Now, nothing happens. It's a matter of teaching you how you can be morally inclined in whatever you do. Could you believe me, before she graduated, she has turned over a new leaf. She behaved very well. She doesn't talk anyhow because she has to go back to that book and read the book very well. So in the society today, when you see people abusing the governor, abusing Mr. President, abusing everybody, and they don't even have knowledge of what they are saying. For example, somebody who has never been to Aso Rock will tell you that even somebody who has never been to Abuja, if you travel home, for example, and that person will tell you, you are the people that you have Nigerians' money at hand. I hope you have brought some for us. Are you living in Aso Rock, for example? Have you ever been there? Even if you are there, did you go there for collecting money? But you see, the mentality and understanding of people are differ from different perspectives. And that is why it is our duty to mark what can be taught, how we can be able to educate them, most especially the younger ones. How do we need to talk to them? We don't need to leave them a minute. If you're a Muslim, when you wake up in the morning, tell your children to wake up and pray. If you're a Christian, allow them to do the same. So that by the time you planted all this, you plant this into their life, they will know that it will be very difficult for them to misbehave. Take, for example, who are those people that are corrupt in Nigeria today? Is either a Muslim or a Christian. Are we not saying that the two people, they don't have the books? Are we not saying that they are not reading Bible? Are we not saying they are not reading Quran?
So wouldn't that be a failure of this religious institution?
It is not a failure. Let me tell you, what you have in mind is quite different from what you can read, what is in the Bible or what is in the Holy Quran. It's not left for you as human to act on it and follow it if you really have the fear of God in mind. There's a portion in the Holy Quran when God says, you will be commanding people to do good. And you are denying yourself in doing that good. And you read the books. Have you no sense? If you have sense, and your senses are working anti-clockwise, and you understand the adverse effect of neglecting what God has asked you to do, then you wouldn't have even done it.
But you know, I agree with you to an extent, but I also believe that a constant admonishment of people who stray from the word of God, who stray from the Holy Quran, who stray from the Bible, will help them sit up to become better Christians or Muslims. I myself am not perfect, and I'm sure both of you feel the same way about yourselves. But every Sunday when I go to church, I'm always inspired to be a better Christian, be a better sister to my siblings, and be a better mentor to the people who look up to me. I'm always admonished by the word of God whenever I go to church on Sundays because they preach the values and the morals of the Bible. But as I said, there are many churches who are just focused on prosperity. Oh, hallelujah, you're going to get 10 million, shout, and all of that. And there's no substance in the message. So, Reverend Paba, I'll ask the question I asked before. How do we reframe these messages? Because I believe, again, that there's such an integral role religious bodies play. This country can be transformed in such a short amount of time if religious bodies step up, if religious bodies take charge of the conversation. So what can we do? How do you change your messaging? How do we focus more on the values and the morals that these religious institutions are meant to be propagating?
Yeah, thank you very much. Firstly, I would say it's true that there are preachers of the gospel today that either focus so much on prosperity messages. Others will preach messages that like incite violence and crisis and all of that. And however, that does not mean that that is what preachers generally preach today.
Very true.
Or the unfortunate thing about human existence is that negative things are louder than positive things. We have preachers that are, they are wonderful in their preaching and teaching, and they tend to, work in their preaching to keep their followers on track as far as religion is concerned, and I mean true religion. Now, I belong to the Holy Ghost Fathers, and we have an aspect of our postulate called JPDIC, Justice, Peace, Development, and Integrity of Creation. Now, we see it as our responsibility in our missionary endeavors to see to it that we don't just work for the salvation and the well-being of the human person, but the entirety of creation. So everything in creation is important, and that is what the biblical instruction is. In Genesis chapter 1, verse 28 particularly, after the creation of Adam and Eve, God asked Adam to rule over the world. And what is rulership? Caring, stewardship, taking care of creation. A true leader is the one who takes care of the well-being of his followers. So that is rulership. Now, and in every religion, in fact, in every sector of the human society, there are fanatics. A religious fanatic is one who has excessive enthusiasm, religious enthusiasm, and is often has often intense, uncritical devotion. So such a person is wild in a sense. And Aristotle will say that virtue lies in the middle, not to the extreme right or extreme left. The one on the extreme left, a fanatic, will preach and incite people to take arms. There is nothing wrong, like if you are conversant with the Bible, the prophets, even in the book of Deuteronomy, you see the Bible stipulating how every human being should relate with the other. And the prophets will always speak out the voice of God against injustice. So religion is expected in its nature to be critical of the human society. Critical in a constructive manner, not destructive. That is where you see a true religion. But the fanatical religious leader will be critical destructively. He will be the one that will speak in a way that will incite people and all of that. Now, on the other extreme, religion is not supposed to be, of course, it should console the people, it should encourage the people, it should give hope to the people. But at the same time, it shouldn't deceive the people, believing they will make it without struggle.
I like that.
There is no crown without the cross. And so a true religion must always emphasize Christ is the one we follow. We Christians, we follow Christ. And we celebrate Christ at his resurrection. But he couldn't have resurrected without dying. And he couldn't have died without passing through the pains of the cross. So the cross is intrinsically part of our Christian calling. And I believe also the Muslims are the same way. I know I did some studies in Islamic religion while in training as a seminarian, and I learned also that in the Islamic community there is always an option for the poor. People make contributions to see to the needs of the less privileged and all of that. Now, religion has a responsibility of ensuring that everybody is okay. Now, whether government or non-government, any human person is, once you are a religious adherent, you belong to a particular religion, the religious leaders have the responsibility of speaking to your conscience irrespective of your position.
That sums up this conversation.
Yes.
Religious institutions have the responsibility to speak to the conscience of the masses to make them better individuals.
Yes.
Reverend Father Benson, Dr. Dr. Musa, my apologies, thank you so much for joining us and educating us on this very, very relevant and impactful topic. So you've heard it here. Don't forget to follow us on social media at Weekend Show NG to keep up the conversation. There's more coming on the Weekend Show. Do not go anywhere. We'll be right back.